Coming up on this week's edition of NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen.
We'll talk about NCBA's grassroots structure and how that helps support the U.S. beef industry. Plus, we'll discuss U.S. beef exports and the opportunities for the year ahead.
And now, NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen.
Hello and welcome to NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen. I'm Kevin Ochsner. Thanks for joining us. When asked, most beef producers will say the value of belonging to an organization like NCBA is the strong voice it provides in Washington, D.C. on behalf of the cattle industry. And joining us now is Gene Copenhaver, a Virginia cattle producer who serves as NCBA's vice president. Gene, let's begin by telling folks just a little bit about yourself and your history there in Virginia.
Thanks, Kevin, for having me. Kevin, I'm a fifth-generation cattleman in the southwestern part of Virginia. We run a stocker operation, me and my son, Will. And he's going to be a sixth-generation, or he is a sixth-generation cattleman already, and he has a daughter that hopefully is going to be a seventh-generation cattleman. So we want to continue this, and we want to sustain this industry so she can be.
That's quite a story and quite a legacy, as a matter of fact. You've been involved in the policymaking process for some time, and I'm curious, how would you describe the grassroots approach NCBA takes to developing its policy?
Well, our grassroots approach that NCBA has been around a long time, has been the oldest and largest group. We depend on our grassroots to start at the local level. A lot of our policy starts at the local cattlemen's group, comes up through our state affiliates, then comes to the national meetings, our midsummer meeting and our meeting we just had in Orlando. And with that, it all comes to board meetings and committee meetings, and it's vetted there, and then it's voted on, and then it's voted on membership later this fall. So it's definitely grassroots.
So based on that process, I mean, what do you anticipate might be some of the key priorities for NCBA over the coming year?
Well, one of the big things is continue to fight some of the animal rights groups from doing what we know how to do in sustained industry. They've been after our checkoffs, they've been after some of our other programs, and we continue to fight those. Taxes are coming up where we, during the Trump administration, we had the new tax ideas, and I was serving as chairman of Tax and Credit at that time, and we went to DC, and we got a lot of things for cattlemen, but a lot of those things are coming, next 2 or 3 years are coming where they're going to expire, and we're going to have to continue to work to get those to where we can keep them where they're at right now.
You know, one of the other topics that's important to all of us as beef cattle producers is international markets, and certainly we face some headwinds given the price of beef and exchange rates and so forth, but what is NCBA's role as it relates to international trade?
Relationships is a big thing. While we were in Orlando, we met with the Mexico and Canada, our neighbors from the north and the south, and our great relationship with UMEF. And what we do there, and we have to continue those relationships and make sure our product, which is the best in the world, continues to be noted as such.
And what's your perception? Why is it so important for cattle producers to be engaged in crafting and creating trade policy?
We have to be there. We have to be at the table. And as one of our past presidents said, if you're not at the table, you're on the menu. So you don't want the federal government to be telling you what you're going to do and how you're going to do it. You want to be involved in that process of international trade or anything we do within the industry.
Well, thank you so much for your perspective. I'm certain we'll be visiting more as the year progresses, but we appreciate your service to our organization and our industry.
Thanks, Kevin. Thanks for having me.
Now, you can support the work being done for the beef industry by joining Gene as a member of NCBA. It's easy to do. Just call 866-233-3872 or visit the website ncba.org. Use the promo code C2C and you'll get a special gift just for our viewers. We mentioned exports, and it's clear they're important to the profitability of the U.S. beef industry. Joining us now is Dan Hallstrom, President and CEO of the U.S. Meat Export Federation. Dan, thanks for coming to the show. Obviously, we've had a little dampening of U.S. exports this year. Talk to us about some of the factors that have led to that.
Yeah, 2023 was a little bit of a challenge compared to 2022, especially with Asia. And we saw strong exchange rate, a strong dollar against the yen, for example, and economies were struggling a little bit coming out of COVID. But the good news is, here as we get into early 2024, it appears to be turning around a bit for the better, so that's good. But that being said, 2023 is still going to, when we get December stats here in about a week, it's going to still come in as our second or worst case third largest year ever for exports. And a lot of that has to do with Latin America. Latin America was booming, Mexico in particular, but Central and South America as well in 2023. And I think that's a testament to tourism rebounding. It's a testament to strong economies. And a supply chain with Canada, US, and Mexico really hitting on all cylinders to our benefit. So it wasn't all bad news. In fact, a lot of good news out there.
That is good news. So let's talk 24 for just a minute. I mean, what do you see ahead, and when do you think we may make it back to those record-setting levels?
Well, of course, that's the goal. And I think Asia has a lot of pent-up demand. Food service, most of the world post-COVID, we saw a food service rebound, or really a revenge spending type of scenario.
Right.
We didn't see that in Asia, and especially not in China, especially not in Japan. And I do think there's some potential there to see some of that revenge spending come in 2024.
So we've talked about Asia, we talked about Latin America. What are some other markets that you see some growth potential in?
Well, I think that's another piece of really good news. There's a lot of potential in Southeast Asia, for example. We've actually expanded our footprint in Indonesia with a representative in Jakarta. Malaysia is another spot. The supply chain's not that well established in Southeast Asia, in that part of Southeast Asia, so that's a potential positive. And of course, another area I've been talking about for a long time, of course, is Africa, especially West Africa and the southern part of Africa. Already a destination for beef variety meats, but there's a lot of potential for muscle cuts as well.
Very good. Thank you so much for your updates and for all you do to grow beef exports for us.
It's our pleasure. Thank you.
Now, to learn more about the work of the U.S. Meat Export Federation and its efforts to enhance U.S. beef demand overseas, just visit their website at usmef.org. Still ahead on Cattlemen to Cattlemen, our country's chief agricultural negotiator talks about the future of U.S. beef exports.
Just about time for that weather watch, and this week we're chatting about the options of that moisture for the spring. Two scenarios to discuss straight ahead.
Weeds will rob me of my investments. The weeds are not palatable to cows. They will not eat them, or if they do eat them, some of them may be toxic. So there's a return on investment by allowing there to be more grass available to be grazed by the cattle.
Have you taken a hard look at the performance of your cow herd? More producers are turning to the proven genetics offered by Gelbvieh and Balancer females.
We like the Balancers just because they're really good mamas, they got good feet and good udders.
So the reason that we started using the Balancer genetics is to create the perfect hybrid female. To have that composite hybrid female that lasts a long time, has moderate mature status, and highly fertile.
Moderate-framed Gelbvieh and Balancer females stay in your herd longer and offer outstanding performance.
Gelbvieh and Balancer females are really known for their fertility, for their longevity, and for the ability to raise heavy weaning calf year after year.
Make the smart, sustainable, and profitable choice with Gelbvieh and Balancer females. Find out more at gelbvieh.org.
The U.S. is the world's leading exporter of agricultural products, and the Office of the U.S. Trade Representative is responsible for providing trade policy leadership and negotiating expertise in several important areas. Joining us now to talk about these efforts is Chief Agricultural Negotiator Doug McCaleb. Ambassador McCaleb, thank you for joining us at CattleCon and for this show. I'm curious, what are some of the efforts that USTR is undertaking currently to expand foreign access for U.S. beef?
Yeah, thanks so much, Kevin. It's great to be here at CattleCon. We've had 3 record years in a row of agricultural exports and record farm income and ranch income around the country. We certainly appreciate that. We want to build on it. We've had tremendous success. For example, the Japanese market for beef recently expanded its tariff quota. We will be able to capitalize on that $2.3 billion market for U.S. beef products. Beyond that, we've opened up markets in places like Ghana on the continent of Africa and continue to push for market access around the globe for beef products.
As beef producers, we're pretty proud of the demand there is globally for U.S. grain-fed beef. I'm curious, what trends do you see in the future in terms of beef exports?
Yeah, for example, in November, I was in Johannesburg, South Africa there, and we were there to relaunch the AGOA effort, which is the major trade relationship that we have with more than 30 countries on the continent of Africa. Well, I was down there. I was taken to a local beef distribution site, and they have a U.S. identity beef sales happening in Johannesburg, South Africa. Tremendously popular. We were able to tour it and see that consumers there are very interested in what we have to offer. And again, we just need to push around the globe to get those opportunities realized.
Yes, and we appreciate all the efforts you can make in that area. So tell us this, what are some of the key priorities in terms of agricultural trade?
Yeah, while we've had record exports and record farm income, we also have to be mindful of the inputs that farmers have to pay for and the ranchers have to do to keep their operations moving. So for example, this year we were able to change the duty on fertilizer coming from Morocco. It had been at 20%, it's now in single digits. So every little bit like that makes a difference for a rancher, for a row crop farmer, because again, their bottom line, it's nice to make good sales and we're out there opening up markets, but we also need to make sure that their input costs are under control and that we're managing that policy in a two-way manner.
Thank you very much for coming to the show and for all you do on behalf of us farmers and ranchers.
Thank you, Kevin. Great to be here.
We're back with more Cattlemen to Cattlemen right after this. Stay with us.
Cattle producers across the country work hard to care for their animals and their land. The USDA's Natural Resources Conservation Service is there to help. Find out how you can work with NRCS to develop a conservation plan for your operation. Find possible funding resources for implementing conservation practices, or get free expert advice on ways to improve your farm or ranch. Visit the website nrcs.usda.gov today.
That certain time in the day when you can take a deep breath, knowing your work is done. That's the feeling Aspen products can create. Cost-effective alternatives to name brands that deliver the same results. Qualaxin is one of them. Use it to prevent and treat respiratory disease in your herd. Then breathe easy. Find them at Animal Health International.
Time now for Weather Watch with meteorologist Matt Makins.
Time for the Weather Watch. Meteorologist Matt Makins here. Hope you're doing well. In this Weather Watch, we're going to be chatting about the scenarios over the next couple of months. And with that, we need a little recap of where we've been. So bottom line here is we're going to be chatting about the spring options and how the pattern's already kind of evolving as we're running out of this El Nino steam, if you will. If you look at what the forecast was versus where we've been so far for this winter, see a close match here for the upper Midwest. Very warm across the north and then cooler pockets down to the south. So the forecast for this kind of moderately strong El Nino event is right on track as far as temperatures are concerned. Precip, well, most of it should have focused on Texas on up into the central and northern plains. It is doing so, but not so much for West Texas or East New Mexico. So that's a bit of a difference. And we're also getting some moisture up farther into the upper Midwest than we expected. Part of that is due to the weakness of this El Nino event versus what the forecast strength was. Let's check snowfall real quick. Here is what the forecast was for most similar years, what that analog snowfall was, and here we are to date. And kind of the higher totals of snowfall here Well, we've shifted them to the north a bit, again, due to kind of a different evolution of this El Nino event. But Kansas right now, if we would stop the snowfall season right now, Kansas, in terms of precipitation or that snowfall above average, they'd be the winners. Their percentage base is much higher than other states. We're going to have additional chances for snow, obviously. Winter's far from done. So let's see what may play out for the rest of winter into spring, for that matter. Since we're almost to spring, it technically starts March 1st. Here's the spring outlook with El Nino and the spring outlook with neutral conditions. If we were able to keep this El Nino event going, it'd be much more beneficial for the south, southwest, southern plains. We're going to lose some of that steam. We already have. We've already seen that. So that's going to be able to spread that moisture out more so to the north. So if you're central and northern plains, better spring outlook. If you're Texas, New Mexico, you wanted that strong El Nino in place. Again, not necessarily likely as we're losing steam. So here's your most likely scenario for precip for this spring. Not bad, all things considered. Until the next Weather Watch, Matt Makins.
We're at the back porch at the National Cattlemen's Beef Association's CattleCon 2024. With me is Julie Lux. Julie, talk to me a little bit about the back porch experience here.
Well, the back porch, and we are, first of all, so grateful to NCBA for giving us this space. It's an opportunity for people to come and either sit down in a rocking chair and relax their aching feet from walking all over the trade show floor, but it's also a chance to learn about a variety of different mental health resources that are available. We all know that there is a mental health crisis in rural America and that we have to deal with that crisis differently than in urban areas. And so Rural Minds is an organization that serves as the informed voice for mental health in rural communities. And this is we have a variety of different resources for people that they can take with them. We even have a family counselor here who will talk to people if somebody would like to go off and talk with her as well. So, I say it's all about resources.
Talk to me a little bit about having that conversation about mental health in rural America and why it needs to be maybe addressed differently, and the conversation takes a little bit different approach.
People that live in rural settings, and let's just talk about ranchers because we're here at the NCBA. A lot of people go into the ranching profession because they like being independent. They like working on their own. They like being self-reliant. And in many, many situations, that's a good thing. But when it comes to mental health, maybe not. Sometimes you need some help. And we know that sadly the stigma is still alive and well. Many people, they understand that cancer is a disease, heart disease, but they look at mental health challenges as a character flaw. And so the goal is to let people know that mental health, mental challenges are just the same as any other disease, and you sometimes need to ask for help. But it's hard when you're an independent-minded individual like the people that choose to live in rural America, choose a profession like ranching, sometimes to ask for that help because they don't look at it the same way. So our goal is to empower those people and empower their friends and family to know how to start those conversations that maybe will lead to that individual asking for help.
Julie, tell me a little bit about the partnership with National Grain.
We are so grateful to our good friends at the National Grain, of course, one of the oldest agriculture associations in the country. They came actually to Rural Minds because in their 160 plus years they've really never addressed mental health, but realized how important this is and what needs to be done to help support people in rural areas. And out of that partnership came the new Rural Mental Health Resilience Program.
Let's expand a little bit on that new program. Tell me about it.
This again, playing to the strengths of people who live in rural America, playing to the strengths of that do-it-yourself, self-reliant frame of mind, or we have created a variety of different resources. Everything from fact sheets about different mental health conditions. So it's, depression and suicide, so many different things, substance abuse. There's a variety of different resources that provide information for people to help them understand what these are all about. And then also things like warning signs. What do you look for if your friend, your family member, your neighbor, all of a sudden maybe they're not coming to church or to events that they have done it, they've come to or participated in the past. Maybe the ranch is falling into a little disrepair where in the past they've taken very much pride in making sure that everything was up to date and ready. But it's looking at those signs that maybe someone does need help, and also conversation starters. One thing we hear very often is, well, I was kind of worried about my friend, but I was afraid to bring it up. I didn't want to make them mad, or I was afraid I'd say the wrong thing and maybe make things worse. So there are conversation starters that people can use in order to help start those conversations. And again, it's not about being a mental health counselor. It's just about being a friend, being that sympathetic voice that will give people the strength maybe, or just the knowledge to be able to ask for help and know that it's okay to ask for help. It doesn't make you a weaker person. It isn't a character flaw. It's something that you can do for yourself, but also for your family, because mental health is something that it doesn't just affect the individual. If someone is dealing with a mental health challenge, the entire family becomes, involved and affected by that. And so these tools are available to anyone. They're available on our website, ruralminds.org/resilience, downloadable and totally free of charge.
The website again, Julie?
Ruralminds.org is our website, which also has a variety of different kinds of resources. And for the specific resources from the Mental Health Resilience Program, it's ruralminds.org/resilience.
Julie, thank you so much.
Megan, thank you.
I'm Megan Grebner, Brownfield Ag News for NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen.
When we come back, we've got a look at the BeefIt 5K. Stay with us.
Handle feed, waste, and other materials on your operation with John Deere equipment. Weigh feed on the go with dynamic weighing. And move materials faster without spilling with the Level to Horizon feature on 6R tractors. Move and stack bales easily and clean up brush and debris with improved grapple work on 5 Series tractors. Get into tight spaces with skid steers and wheel loaders. And check calves, fences, and more with John Deere Gators. Ask your John Deere dealer to learn more.
Support U.S. beef cattle farmers and ranchers, and you could win a John Deere Premium Cab Gator. The National Cattlemen's Beef Association is offering the chance to win this ultimate off-road vehicle. Scan the special QR code just for Cattlemen to Cattlemen viewers to go to the sweepstakes website and enter today. See the website for complete official rules. No payment necessary, void where prohibited.
Are you concerned about the impact government policies could have on your cattle business? One way to make your voice heard in Washington is by joining NCBA. When you join, you'll be part of the nation's oldest and largest national cattle industry organization that has a professional team working in Washington, D.C. on issues that matter to cattle-producing families nationwide. Don't stay on the sidelines. Make your voice heard by joining NCBA today at the website ncba.org.
There's always a variety of activities happening at CattleCon. Here's a look at one event that allowed participants to take off their cowboy boots and lace up some running shoes.
Before the sun came up in Orlando, a crowd of more than 100 got off to a fast start with the BeefIt 5K, sponsored by Huve Pharma.
There's no better way to start a morning than running, and again, to see all of these cattle producers and men and women who contribute to the cattle industry out running, it was a perfect way to start the day at the convention.
Feeling so good. What a way to start the week off, and feeling really good for day 2 at CattleCon.
Perfect weather, perfect temperatures, beautiful scenery, lots of beef-loving Americans out there running with us, so it was a lot of fun.
Those who participated in the fun run say beef is a big part of what fuels their fitness.
It does. I mean, we had a great steak last night, and gave us lots of energy to go this morning.
Beef is a part of our diet at home all the time. I'm a marathon runner. Before long runs, before races, beef is always right at the center of my plate.
Getting out early with the Beef Fit 5K is just one way those in the beef industry make connections and build friendships.
Fellowship, community. It's good to see everyone up early. I know most of these guys are all up every morning on their farms or ranches and getting it done, and doing the same thing here in Orlando, so feeling good.
The Beef Fit 5K is cool because it doesn't matter what age you are, just as long as you love beef, get out there and run and have fun.
At the start-finish line in Orlando, I'm Brian Baxter reporting for NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen.
That wraps up this edition of NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen. Thanks so much for spending time with us. We'll see you again next week right here on RFD TV.